Hello and welcome back to SnowRunner, y'all. And in this video, we're going to take a look at a new second gen from Glitchworks. Now, as I'm sure you can tell, this truck is really loud. And if that's what you want in a truck, you're definitely going to find something you enjoy with this one. Now, the interior, I actually really love because you get fully detailed gauges. You also get a fully modeled gear selector as well as a four-wheel drive selector. And I'm sure somebody in the comments is gonna, call me out for calling them selectors instead of shifters, but I mean, they kind of do the same job. A shifter selects a gear. But before we get lost in going on and on and on about terminology, which honestly I could spend way too much time doing, we're going to go through the customization. Now, as you can tell, I opted for the V10, which honestly I feel like if you're going to opt for anything in this truck, you might as well opt for the V10 unless you're looking for a more vanilla game style experience, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting that particular play style out of your mods, although it's just not necessarily the style that I personally tend to go for. Now, as we get a little bit further into the customization, you may notice a little bit of a theme, and if you haven't noticed it yet, give it a little bit, you probably will. Or at the very least, when we get to the exhaust options, you'll definitely catch on. If you're going to catch on, you will have caught on by then. And of course, outside of the theme that y'all are going to see in a moment, the customization options are actually properly deep. There's a lot going on here. You have some custom hoods, you have a brush guard option, as well as some other custom bumpers that you can go for as well. Although I am a little back and forth on how second gen fans are going to respond to this truck, because I feel like it will be one of those trucks that people are either going to be really into, or they're going to be like, what the hell is this? I don't want it. And now that we have the exhaust option on the truck, and you still haven't gotten the reference, if you haven't gotten it at this point, you're probably not going to get it. But what this is referencing is the Little Red Express. Now, the Little Red Express was based off of a much earlier Dodge Ram. However, it has been sort of reimagined across. Honestly, I think people have pretty much made tributes to the Little Red Express across honestly just about every generation of the Dodge Ram. So even though this one is not based off of the original generation that the Little Red Express was from, it's still kind of interesting that we have yet again another sort of tribute to it, as it were. Now, as far as trailer options for this truck go, you're honestly going to be mostly looking at various scout options. You're not going to be doing any heavy towing or heavy hauling with this truck. It's kind of going to fit into, let's say if you were using it in a campaign playthrough, this is going to fit into your pretty much general scout role. So think in terms of vanilla trucks, think Hummer H2, think K1500, trucks like that are the roles that you would have those trucks in are the roles that this truck is kind of intended to fill. However, it does fill those positions at a much higher level of capability. And that increased level of capability becomes, honestly, it becomes very apparent from the first moment you drive this thing through a river. And then the second you drive it up a wall, let's just say it becomes even more apparent. So once you get this thing into some proper obstacles, whether or not you're a fan of Glitchworks' trucks, this thing is properly capable. However, you just have to be aware of the fact that while yes, it is capable, it also definitely has its limits. And when I say it has its limits, honestly, what I'm pretty much getting at is the fact that, well, you'll see it right here. balance is not its strong suit. And I mean, you can't necessarily expect a lifted second gen to have balance being its strong suit, because in any sort of realistic sense, this is not going to be a truck that has a low center of gravity that you can kind of rotate around and pivot upon. This is more of a truck that's just, it's honestly, when it comes to the center of gravity, it's just there. And when I say it's just there, I say it in the sense of wherever that center of gravity ends up, you're pretty much going with it, and you don't have the fullest sense of choice in that matter. So if you are preparing to take this thing on some sort of, let's say, extended adventure, just know going into it that you may or may not have to deal with some interesting rollover situations, or at the very least, make sure you equip it with some sort of offline winch, because if you do, it's not really that much of an issue. But if you don't, let's just hope you're a careful driver. And as far as mud abilities go, they're fine. I definitely don't have anything to sort of complain about when it comes to mud capabilities with this truck. Although if you're going into it expecting a mud truck, you're definitely not going to find one, but rather you're going to find a truck that is well balanced for what it can do, although it's not going to be incredibly good at any one or two particular areas, which honestly just takes me back to my prior point of it being an all-round scout. And if you go into it with that sort of expectation, you're gonna be fine with it. Although if you go into it with a little bit different of an expectation, and you're expecting something that is going to excel particularly at one focus or another, you may be a little bit more disappointed. So really, at the end of the day, it all comes down to, well, honestly, your own preference. And if the driving experience of this truck kind of falls into that range of preferences, you'll be completely fine. However, if you're expecting something different, you may or may not enjoy it. So it all comes down to, honestly, you, and it all comes down to what you personally want out of a truck. And I also think it's really interesting and honestly really cool that Glitch sort of went out on a limb and did a second gen in a slightly different style than what we normally see. We normally see second gens, or rather the typical representation of these second gens. A lot of people want to see your typical second gen that you see in, for example, the real world. So, for example, a single cab long bed 2500. Now, there's nothing wrong with that by any stretch. However, it is interesting to see some different takes just on the idea of a second gen in general. And can we also take a second to just genuinely appreciate how incredible of a job it did on the bridge jump? It literally just, I mean, hell, if the barrels weren't there, it would have just landed and driven away. However, this next spot gives us once again a lesson in gravity. And I then responded to gravity by spawning in one of Lime's trucks to essentially just rescue this thing, because the last thing I want to do is struggle and fight with the winch. However, at this point in the video, y'all should have a pretty good idea of that truck's capabilities overall, and let me know in the comments down below if this truck is one that you are planning on taking a look at. Is it a truck that you've already driven? Is it a truck that you enjoy driving? And is it one that you could see putting into your virtual garage? And if it is a truck that you either enjoy using already, or a truck that you do plan on using, let me know in those comments down below. And if you have a friend that you think would enjoy either the truck or the video or both, then make sure you share it with them and share all of your thoughts and opinions in those comments down below. But with that last rollover, that is going to do it for this one, y'all. And I'll see y'all next time.